patient needs improving on or compensation for. From that, we'll step our treatment plan, how we're going to treat the patient. And then we have to write progress notes on the patient. So depending on where you are, the way the progress notes are set up can differ. Some people, sometimes it's just checklists, sometimes it's narrative. Whatever facility you're at, they're going to have some sort of system in place. And of course, I think by October, everything has to be electronic. It's highly likely that wherever you are now is going to be electronic. Well, October, I mean, that's next semester. So. And then when the patient is ready to be discharged, you're also going to do a discharge summary. Sometimes you'll see that it'll just say D/C, and that's the abbreviation for discharge. So that's kind of the basics on what your written record on your patient is going to be. The progress note, some places, most places, every time you see the patient, you're going to have to write a note documenting that you saw that patient, because that also justifies the fact that you're going to put in a charge for having seen that patient. Now, charges, interestingly enough, when I say charge, it sounds like, okay, I saw the patient, now there's a certain fee for me having seen that patient. Most patients, particularly in the hospital, are not on a fee per service basis anymore. Most patients have a per diem. And what that means is the hospital gets a certain amount of money per day based on whatever that patient's diagnosis is to manage that patient. So it's not necessarily that they're going to get a bill that's going to say speech, 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 and it'll be whatever, $350, $353. It's not like that. It's just most of the time, most places, that charge is tracking your productivity. Okay? So most of the time you're putting in the amount of time that you spent with the patient, and then the progress note will refer back to the goals and the progress that your patient is making toward the goals that you set out for that patient. And you'll do that daily, okay? Or daily, if you see the patient daily, 2 times a week if you see the patient 2 times a week. So every time you see the patient is when you write your progress note. This is just a very simple goal that just so that you have a pretty straightforward example of a goal. So the baseline behavior is patient currently has poor lip seal resulting in anterior bolus loss on thin liquid trials. Okay? That's their baseline. You tried some thin liquids with them, they didn't have good lip seal, and so it fell out the front of their mouth, right? So you would write a goal for that patient that says, patient will have adequate lip closure to reduce anterior bolus loss and contain liquid in the oral cavity while drinking. Okay? That's your goal. You don't want the patient to lose any liquid from their mouth. Okay? So then you'll go back to your treatment options to work, hopefully, on either, maybe you're going to work on compensation and you're going to teach the patient to put a finger under their lip, and that's going to help them keep their lips closed. Maybe along with that, you're going to have them do some straw exercises, or you're going to have them do some lip retraction and puckering exercises to try and strengthen. Okay? So maybe that's how your plan is going to be to treat. So now you have to also, as you treat, you have to keep track of that. So you're going to write a note. Different places, again, have different formats for how they want you to do your progress note. But in general, people use a SOAP format. And I don't know how many of you have heard of SOAP. Did Lucinda do that? Okay, so most of you, but some haven't, so I'll do this anyway. Doesn't hurt to talk about it a little bit. subjective observations of the patient or family, or maybe they told you, I feel really tired today. So like the person reports fatigue, feeling fatigued today, or the example I used is the patient reports she is coughing when drinking liquids. So it's a subjective statement. It doesn't have to be just one. I just put that as an example. This is where you would put patient reports having a seizure, last week, or the patient reported having a cold, or those kinds of things that the patient would tell you. Objective is going to refer to your goals and how the patient performed that day. So this is where you include your data. Include any objective data you took in the session. So this is where you would have percentages, the patient's response to whatever intervention you did. Okay? That's where this objective part goes. It's not really qualitative, it's quantitative information. Your qualitative is more the subjective that you've noted. Then you have the A part, which is the analysis. And this is where you take that information and you summarize it and kind of interpret what you think is going on. All right? Let's say the patient was, let's say the objective, objectively the patient did worse this week than last week, or worse this session than the previous session, and your analysis is patient, with overall decreased performance today, suspect secondary to reported fatigue. So now I've kind of taken that qualitative information I have and used it to explain, well, you know what, today was a bad day. All right? And then P is plan. So it's what you plan to do in the next session. Sometimes it's specifically what you plan to do. Sometimes, you'll just write continue current treatment plan. Sometimes plan also has like the frequency where you would put continue to see patient 2 times per week, or decrease visits to 1 time per week. That's where you would put that kind of information. Or patient has met goals, ready for discharge, right? Something like that. So you get a lot of practice with either this format or something similar to it when you're actually doing practicum. But I just wanted you to have just kind of a sense of what the notes might